Hello! This video is going to be about your undergarments. I know, wild topic, right? My name is Eleanor and I go by Radically for Jesus here on YouTube. I make videos about head covering, modesty, homemaking, homeschooling, sewing, and all sorts of topics in the Titus 2 realm. If that is of an interest to you, please feel free to subscribe and like this video if you do. On to today's topic. Today is going to be about modesty and undergarments. I wanted to do this video because I have learned some things recently that I thought would be worth sharing. So now, one disclaimer. If you are a gentleman watching this video, now I'll grant you none of my channel is directed toward none of my channel is directed toward men. It is directed toward Christian sisters most of the time. But I know some men watch my channel anyway, and that's fine if you want to watch it. But this particular video might be best if you click away. So respectfully, I would ask that you do that because we're going to talk about the unmentionables. We're going to mention the unmentionables for the sake of helping each other out here. On to what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about what we wear underneath our dress as a helper for modesty, but it's also kind of a helper for having your stuff lay appropriately and lay better. I think if you have the right undergarments, it can also help your items to look a little bit more quality. I found this out just because they lay better. Things that you really maybe wouldn't expect that I have been finding over the course of the years. Now, the first part I'm going to talk about is kind of start at the top with our girls. What you do there is up to you. Now, I will be straight up honest with you again, hoping most of you guys have clicked away. I do not always wear a brassiere. I don't like them. They are uncomfortable to me. I do wear them sometimes. If I wear one, I tend to go with like the sports bra and the cotton. It's a lot less restricting. I never wear underwears and things like that anymore. I don't like that. I am not a particularly huge woman, but probably a little bigger than average due to my weight. Many women of my size are like, oh, I have to have an underwear, or I have to have this. Maybe you do. You know your body type. I am not judging your underwear. You wear what you want, what makes it comfortable. For me, that is not comfortable. I don't like the compression of the wires and stuff along the side. It hurts, and by the end of the day, there's just way too much pain there, and I'm not comfortable with that. But what I do advocate, if you're like me and you find them uncomfortable, is wear a secondary shirt underneath. Kind of like how when girls are young, they wear like the little camisole or underwear shirt. You can do that as an adult too. Now, I grant you, again, this varies depending on your body type. If you have the shape that you can't help, but because of how you're shaped, you really have to have a bra, or it's in a modest, you know your shape, you know what you can do. I know my shape, I know what I can get by with, and for the most part, I can kind of get by without one unless certain things are like skin rashes or something that I really, really need the separation and lift that actual real bra can provide. That's when I wear the sports ones. The cotton to me is very important versus the synthetics and stuff like that. But I recommend wearing something, a modest layer, because when you don't have something on under there, you can tell things you shouldn't be able to tell. And you may think that other people can't see, but they can. I noticed in myself for a long time, I wasn't always diligent about that. And to be straight up honest with you, I didn't realize how immodest that it really was. I had every intention in the world of being very modest, but sometimes it just wasn't. And I was surprised. I was like, oh my, when I got a glimpse of myself one day in the mirror. That glimpse I took in the mirror also taught me something else really important. I wear under my dresses and have for many, many years something called pantalettes. Kind of like you see on TV of the old-fashioned movies of a pantaloon. Well, a pantaloon is more like it's like a pair of knee-length shorts with elastic in the bottom. Well, a pantalette removes that elastic in the bottom. It's basically a pair of knee knockers or something like that. A long pair of shorts that's made for that purpose. And I usually make them out of like white cotton. I tend to like using reclaimed sheets. I'll get sheets at the thrift store because that sheet fabric wears like iron. The trick to that is making sure you actually use true 100% cotton sheet fabric rather than the microfiber or something like that, because it is not nearly as nice and it's a lot hotter. But those sheet fabric can make really wonderful pantalettes. Those pantalettes keep your legs from rubbing. You know, the chub rub, as they like to call it, in a mean name, but let's face it, a lot of us have chub rub. Not comfortable, but it makes wearing dresses much more possible. I do own a few pair of the pantalettes that are the more silky type, where the there's more swish to that silky type, like the nylons and what's it, nylon tricot, however you pronounce it. They're nice to have too. They're more expensive to buy because that fabric is more expensive, but they work too. The thing that I always used to do is I would wear those and then just wear the dress. Well, I've kind of found that's just really not enough. That day I got that glimpse in the mirror. It was actually a Longhorn Steakhouse. We were celebrating something and I got up to go to the bathroom, and when I walked toward the bathroom there was this full-length mirror, and I had my long dress on. It was mid-calf length, almost ankle, not quite length. It was one of the shorter dresses I have. Most of my dresses I make ankle length, but still very long. Most people are going to say, yes, that's a very modest dress. Well, I looked at myself in the mirror and I seen way too much of my body under and through that dress. And it wasn't that that dress was that thin. It was just, it conforms more to the shape because I didn't have enough proper undergarments on. Yes, I had my pantalettes, and yes, I probably had either a sports bra or something on that day, but it wasn't enough. And I'm like, oh my, I am showing way too much of my shape. For my own modesty standards, I was not comfortable with that. It's not that I am against a feminine shape. I don't try to conceal every curve I have, but there's certainly some curves, namely my lower belly apron, as they call it, from being overweight, that I want to conceal. I don't want to show that in a very open and obvious way. I want to conceal the shape of that. I don't know if you've ever seen other people like that, whether they're wearing pants or skirts or whatever, anything remotely snug on someone who carries their weight how I do, in that whole line of that fat roll, if you will, it shows. And it's like, oh, get me now. I don't want anybody to see that. But it does show. And I started experimenting. I'm like, okay, what can I do to stop that? One, I bought a full-length mirror. I went too long without one, clearly, and I'm like, okay, mistake number one, not having a full-length mirror to check my modesty. You always really, really need that. But number two, I started aiming for sewing some slips. I sat down and went on a slip sewing spree, and it only took me the first one to realize what a difference it made. The pantalettes I was wearing, I thought, oh, that's enough. I'm covered underneath. Yes, I was covered, but it did not conceal the shape in the same way that a slip does. All it took was one slip on top of those pantalettes, in that shape completely was concealed, and my dress flowed straight instead of hugging that curve. And let me clarify, my dresses are in no way tight. I do not like tight clothing. It bothers me. They're very loose, but it was still showing the curves of areas I did not want to show and share. So that slip made all the difference. Now I did find that because I tend to like cotton pantalettes, that if I used a cotton slip on top of cotton pantalettes and then put a dress with a cotton bottom, those cotton layers would kind of stick to each other. That was not ideal. But works beautifully is if you take cotton pantalette and cotton dress, but in between you have your slip be something that is like a lining fabric or something with a little swish, maybe a satin or oh, I can't think of the word, but basically those fancy or more formal fabrics that you might think of. Particularly use some kind of lining fabric, something with a little slippiness, swishiness, and yes, those are usually your synthetic fabrics. but it works really, really well to kind of have that in between the cotton layers, and then all the layers will flow beautifully and kind of swish against each other. When you go to the bathroom, you can get them up quickly. They're not sticking on each other and having trouble falling back down into position. If you use all your layers as cotton, that will kind of happen. If you try to like use it and get your dress to go back down and it's sticking on your pantalettes, and then your pantalettes is sticking on your slip and all that, if you vary the fabric type, it makes a difference. But in general, having a slip-on is way, way better than just wearing pantalettes alone. Maybe you guys already know that, maybe you've already figured that out, but I wanted to share that for modesty reasons, that I found pantalettes and a slip, and then the dress or skirt on top of it. And then for your upper, wearing a bra or some type of camisole top or something like that as well. And again, it depends on your shape. You know what you can do and what you can't do, and you know, double check. Check in that full length mirror to see what looks modest on you and what doesn't. So go with that, do the best you can with what you got. Some of you may find, oh no, I need to go buy this stuff, where am I going to buy it? I don't have that. Well, for me, I sew it. You may not be able to do that. I will try to get some videos up on sewing basic undergarments. Lately I've been thinking I need to do some sewing videos, but that's probably what I need to do, is sew in some undergarments. They're not going to be like the commercial ones. They'll be basic and simple, and probably like a simple shorts pattern or something like that for your pantalettes that's just lengthened out. Or you can buy elastic waist pants pattern and then shorten it to the knee. Works fine for a pantalette pattern. But those things make dress wearing 1,000 times more comfortable. And if you know you're modest, you feel better. And to be honest with you, like the layers and stuff, they really don't get hot in the summer. I haven't found that, and I am someone who gets uber hot really, really easy. The more you can wear cottons, the better that is, but in general it's a good thing. And those layers can help block wind and stuff in the winter. In the winter, I also recommend going with some full length, either like the long johns type pants. You could wear those yoga pants that everybody likes to talk about. I don't own any of those, but I'm sure they would be great for undergarments. To me, they look like undergarments. You could wear anything like sweatpants. I will, on a really, really cold day, I will wear sweatpants under my dresses. The only hang up or problem I have with those is you really do need some kind of layer in between, because your skirt will tend to catch on your sweatpants and not lay right. But if you put a silky slip that's nice and full in between those layers, it'll lay beautifully, and no one will ever know that you're rocking a pair of sweatpants underneath your dress, and warm and toasty as can be. Awesome. The things that you can do if you don't have a seamstress at hand, and I haven't put up my video yet, which I know as of yet I haven't put up videos about sewing undergarments, but I will. The things that you can do to help yourself is, if you have any secondhand stores, go to a secondhand store, find those like yoga pants or something like that. You can find shorts and wear those under your dresses. That will give you something under there. Try to find some slips. If you can find slips, they still have them. I see them often at the thrift stores, just not as many as I used to. They may be one of your harder things to find, but I'm sure you can find them. If you do go to sew one, it is one of the easiest things that you will ever sew, is a simple elastic waist slip. I don't even do elastic waist for mine anymore. I've been using a drawstring, and I can show you how I've been doing that. I actually like the drawstring because it doesn't pull down. I don't have accidents with that like I've had in the past with elastic. So well, if I use a good drawstring, I have a story about that, but anyway, all in all, it's a very, very easy sewing project. You could theoretically, you could totally do that by hand, on hand sewing, if you don't have a machine. But if you have a sewing machine, super easy project to sew a basic half slip. But if you don't, find one at a thrift store or something like that. And of course, if you can afford it, just, you know, find you one on Amazon or something like that. But get you some basic undergarments if you're trying to be modest, because believe me, it helps, especially if you're like me and you're a plus size person and you have undesirable areas you wish to conceal. So hopefully this video has been a help. I think I covered everything. The only thing I see that I did not mention on was, if you have a top that has a low neckline, something I recommend is get those camisole type tops. if you can even turn them around backwards. No one will ever really know it's backwards, and use that as an undergarment, and it will kind of create a line across. I actually have a camisole top on under this right now. You can't really see it because this particular shirt has a high enough neckline, but there's a few shirts I have that I like the shirt and I like everything about the shirt, but I did not like the neckline, so I'll just wear a camisole top under. Try not to hit the microphone. I'll wear a camisole top underneath that, and it will kind of create its own neckline for me. And it's even better if it's backwards because that back is higher. But some things you can't turn around depending on how they're made. But regardless, camisole tops really, really help preserve your modesty. So all in all, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I hope this video has been a help to you. I'm sure there's going to be lots of trolls making fun of this one and so forth, but have a blessed day.